In the meantime, President Obama is suggesting that this country has a problem with powerful women, saying that there is a reason. He was saying this at a Democratic fundraiser over the weekend. We haven't had a woman president. We as a society still grapple with what it means to see powerful women, and it still troubles us in a lot of ways, unfairly, and that expresses itself in all sorts of ways. All right, Washington Examiner Sarah Westwood is here, Democratic strategist Julie Burginski as well. Katherine Timpf is here. Kat, I always think that making a generalized statement if your candidate loses, in this case because she's a woman and we have a problem with women, when we've got, at least, 100 of them in Congress, we've got six female governors, 25 or so Fortune 500 CEOs who are women. I think we're over whatever, if you assume the president's right, angst we have about putting women in charge.
I think that we do need more women in positions of power, but I hate when people say that that means we need Hillary Clinton in particular, because she is such a bad candidate. If she doesn't win, you can't say it's because she's a woman, because she also has so many issues, and that also doesn't mean that another woman couldn't have won. There's no other candidate that's had these kind of scandals. Just because there's no other candidate that's been a woman doesn't mean that that's the thing that's the issue. It's ridiculous.
Well, let me ask you about that, Julie, that the rap here is not that she's a woman candidate, but if she does go on to defeat, that she was a bad candidate. That can happen to men or women, can't it?
Well, let's be clear. Barack Obama wasn't blaming a potential Clinton loss on the fact that she was a woman. He was pointing out something which just happens to be true. We've never had a woman president. And in fact, we've never had anybody come close to being a woman president. And let me actually take off my partisan hat and say that the way that Hillary Clinton has been talked about, the way that Sarah Palin in her time when she was a vice presidential candidate was talked about, is ways that I think men were never talked about, and certainly.
Have you seen the ways Donald Trump has talked about?
Well, listen, when people let me take Donald Trump out of the equation. Let me even use Bernie Sanders as an example. He was not somebody who was reticent. He was a screamer when he would talk at the microphone. Donald Trump certainly doesn't come across as cheery all the time, but yet people focus consistently on the fact that Hillary Clinton yells. You had Reince Priebus saying that she wasn't smiling enough. When was the last time you saw Donald Trump crack a big smile like this when he was at a rally?
People say that I don't smile enough. People say that I don't smile enough. I just don't buy it. Yeah. I think maybe 30 years ago that might have been a valid point. There might be some who have a problem with a woman president, but I think given this day and age, and maybe you can help me, Sarah, it might be. I'm not dismissing. For some people it is, but I just think given the numbers that I stressed at the outset of this, we've come a long way here. So I don't know where the president's going, and surmising that if she doesn't get elected, because that's the next leap I'm taking, it's because she was a woman and we couldn't grapple with that. What do you think, sir?
Well, by injecting sexism into the conversation, President Obama is sort of furthering what has become Hillary Clinton's entire campaign strategy, which is to make voting for Donald Trump a socially unacceptable act, because she really can't afford for the 13% or so undecided voters, many of whom are skeptical Republicans, to all break in Donald Trump's favor and overcome their doubts. And so President Obama, Hillary Clinton, and her allies, they're trying to scare moderates away from lining up behind the Republican nominee.
I don't doubt for a minute, to Julie's point, Kat, that a number of women, particularly pioneers or those, Golda Meir decades ago in Israel, Maggie Thatcher in Britain, encountered a lot of this sort of stuff. And I'm sure Hillary Clinton does among many. But the fact of the matter is, I think we're past whatever initial shock or jolt or chauvinism might have been present, because I think I see a lot less of it. And elections will turn not on, again, whether she's a woman, but whether she was deemed up to the task in the eyes of men and women voters. What do you think?
Well, Neil, yeah. let me just say one thing to you. Golda Meir and Margaret Thatcher were both they were prime ministers. They were the heads of political parties who then became.
Well, I could include Angela Merkel. I could go on and on.
Election. That's very different. You're actually asking somebody to cast a vote, not for a political party. You're asking somebody to cast a vote for an individual. We've never had that, and you have to wonder why, of all the presidents we've ever had, even in modern history.
But Hillary Clinton not winning. Hillary Clinton not winning would not mean that we were not at a place where a woman could win. It would just mean that Hillary Clinton specifically couldn't win.
I think we're insulting a lot of people. The same those who argue that we'll never elect an African-American president. We did twice. Now, I just think that when we go back to this argument, said, if you don't back Barack Obama, you're a racist. If you don't back Hillary Clinton, you're a chauvinist. I think that's the implied message here, and that part, Sarah, really bothers me.
Right. So President Obama had a really winning combination. He had both a transformational message and there were historical implications to his candidacy. Hillary Clinton only has one of those. She does not have a transformational message. Even Democrats are starting to criticize her for running a substance-free campaign that's focusing solely on the fact that Donald Trump, tweets controversial things sometimes. So now President Obama has sort of seized on what seems to be a last-ditch strategy as the race tightens up and down the ballot, which is to hammer home the fact that Hillary Clinton could be the first woman president and try to close the double-digit enthusiasm gap that way.
All right, ladies, I don't know. Well, we'll see. It will all be decided one way or the other, I think, on the content of the candidate than on whatever their gender. But that's just me. All right, in the meantime, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that two-day meeting of the Federal Reserve is underway as we speak. Tomorrow we'll know whether they're going to pull the trigger on interest rates. Right now, the betting is that they will not. We're on it.